Now, I don't usually make videos like these, but this one person has absolutely blown up the internet, and it would kind of be stupid of me not to make a video on him, and I'm referring to Andrew Tate here. But this video is not talking about specifically what he teaches, what he talks about, and all sorts of those things related to that. So before you get butthurt, just know that this video is kind of comparing Andrew Tate's overall strategy when it comes to blowing up the internet to e-commerce and how you can apply that same strategy to your e-commerce brand to achieve similar success. Now, again, just a very big disclaimer. I'm not gonna be talking about what he teaches, whether I agree with his teachings or not. Those are external topics which are not directly related to e-commerce. So you don't really need to be butthurt if you were just about to be butthurt. But I mean, at this point, it's pretty much impossible to not know who Andrew Tate is. But let me give just a brief introduction of this person. So Andrew Tate is a former kickboxer who won a lot of different championships, and just in the recent time period has started to engulf the internet with all of his wild teaching. And while this video is mostly about e-commerce, let's understand just a little bit about Andrew Tate so we can understand where he basically stems from and why it's so important for you to follow a similar strategy for your e-commerce brand. Now, just 6 months ago, I don't know about you, but I had no freaking clue who Andrew Tate was. I mean, that was pretty much irrelevant in my life because, again, I didn't know who this person was just until recently, where every single YouTube video, every single podcast that you almost see, even the news on Twitter itself on that right side, talks about Andrew Tate. So exactly what happened and where did this guy come from? Well, if you look right here on my screen, looking at Google Trends, we can see that people were already starting to talk about this person in general around April 17th, April 23rd. That's when people initially got the idea of who Andrew Tate is, what he teaches, etc., etc. But just about in July, so basically a month ago when I'm recording this video, he started to blow up like crazy. More and more people started to just search up his name in general. So what happened between this time frame where 6 months ago nobody had a single idea who Andrew Tate was to now this person blowing up the entire internet and just every video literally being about him? Let me tell you that this was all part of his plan. It was a strategy which he played very well in order to get to this level. I mean, it's not easy to just achieve basically, quote, overnight success. Same thing is true with e-commerce brands. However, if you connect the dots, if you do everything right, you too, and I mean your e-commerce brand in this case, can achieve the same kind of success. So that's what initially happened with Andrew Tate. Basically, he started to blow up just about a month or two ago, and him blowing up on YouTube and all these other social media channels allowed him and his personal brand to blow up even more. So of course, that means that he started getting a lot of extra revenue from whatever he sells. And in this case, he sells a course, which is called Hustlers University or something like that. Again, it's pretty much irrelevant to what we are trying to talk about and what we're trying to learn from his journey. But what is relevant is overall growth with his own brand. In this case, we're gonna kind of relate it to e-commerce. But let's kind of take a bit of a step backwards to understand why he even went viral in the first place. I mean, if you just do a quick Google search for people that teach similar things to what he does, or just if you type in people like Andrew Tate on Google, you will notice there's a lot of celebrities out there who teach similar things like Andrew Tate does. So why is Andrew Tate so popular? Why are half of these other people not even known in the world? Well, the thing is, from the start, he began to make extreme comments and extreme content related to just women in general, his ideas about women, and also how he viewed relationships just in general. Now, keeping the topic aside about what he talked about, then diving a bit deeper into what I just said in the first part of the sentence, which is extreme comments, that's exactly how he started to get more and more followers and how he basically started to blow up. I mean, in today's world, if you think about it in terms of e-commerce, everybody and their dog wants to just be liked by everybody, especially true when it comes to e-commerce. I mean, the e-commerce brands, they like to cater to their audiences. So what they do is they use these colorful words and these colorful textures on their website just to relate to their audience, even though the entire team or maybe even the owner of that e-commerce brand might not really relate to that part of the audience. They do this on purpose just to get that extra sale or just to be liked by the audience members in general. However, how many of these e-commerce brands that you personally know or have seen go the extra step of taking things to the extreme and either being on one side of the extreme or another. And my guess is, let me answer that for you, barely any brand does that. But with Andrew Tate's strategy of being extreme, this puts him on that side of the category of thinkers, or basically you can call him a brand of his own. So this puts him and his brand on that side of the spectrum, which isn't afraid to ruffle a few feathers to get the larger part of the audience, or at least the part of the audience which is gonna be their die-hard fans. That's essentially what Andrew Tate here did right from the beginning. He knew that he could not just kind of relate to the entire audience as a whole, because there's a lot of the people that don't believe in what he says, and there's more people, in fact, that don't believe what he says than those people that do. So he knew this from the beginning, and instead of just being a people pleaser, instead of being a brand pleaser trying to get everybody to follow his brand like majority of the e-commerce brands are doing out there, he took the road less traveled. He decided to go against the curve. And this is really where majority of his success started to stem from. Just him being able to stand out from the crowd and saying, this is what I believe in, you either follow me or you don't follow me, that's it. And this is where e-commerce brands can shine as well, but we'll be getting to that shortly. In addition to that, a lot of people don't understand that Andrew Tate is actually playing this crazy character on screen that many people are following and many people actually look up to. So whether or not Andrew Tate really believes whatever he says out there on social media, it's a story of its own. But according to him at least, what he mentions is that this is a character, a persona that he plays on the internet to relate to a specific audience. How many e-commerce brands do you know out there that actually do this? Does your e-commerce brand in the first place even have its own persona? And my guess is absolutely not, because if you're like majority of people, you never even put a second thought into thinking of how your brand itself would be perceived as by your customer. For you or majority of the e-commerce store owners, including me, largest part of time, all we really cared about was just getting that next sale, was just growing that revenue number, was just adding more and more digits to our sales dashboards. That's basically where majority of our focus goes on. But Andrew Tate here, instead of just focusing on the same thing, focusing on just making YouTube videos like tutorials, or even having a website and just selling stuff on it that he sources from somewhere, he decided to take it a bit further, and he decided to associate this given character, whether it's good or bad, that's up to you to decide, but he decided to associate this character with his own personal brand, and those people that are related to that character or who follow that character would then go and trust everything this person sells, the real person at least behind that persona. So that's essentially Andrew Tate did in the recent time period, and exactly why his growth looks so momentous, has such great momentum during this time period right here. In addition, along with doing that, along with doing his own kind of advertising and all sorts of stuff like that, he decided to hop on other people's back, meaning he decided to go on other people's podcasts, he decided to go on other people's YouTube channels and just use other people's momentum to his own advantage. How many e-commerce brands do you know? How many of these brands actually use influencers, maybe pay them, maybe do it for free to give them a product or some sort, and actually grow off of their influencers back? Or does your e-commerce brand do this as well or not? And again, majority of the e-commerce store owners unfortunately don't do this. They're only really reliant on growing on Facebook's back or Google ads back, or maybe even TikTok ads back. And let me tell you, TikTok ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, there's a gazillion other people using them as a support system to grow off of their backs along with you. There is no kind of external help or external support for these e-commerce brands to grow. And as a result, when they stop using that given back for support, meaning they stop running ads on Facebook, Google, TikTok, whatever the case might be, or unfortunately they get kicked off, just kicked outside on the curb by these platforms through a suspensions and all sorts of stuff like that, they no longer have a supporting system to continue their growth, and as a result, the brand falls apart. That's essentially what happens. But in this case, what Andrew Tate did is, along with growing through his own ways, he decided to use multiple different brands or multiple different supporting systems to build his own strong foundation. Plus, in addition to that, he is very consistent with what he does. So all he really does is post a lot of content, and he appears a lot of the times on newsfeed. So whether it's my YouTube newsfeed, Facebook newsfeed, even my newsfeed itself, he's always appearing there in some way, shape, or form. So what happens with that is a lot of consistency leads to great results, and e-commerce brands don't realize this. They do SEO and invest in SEO for a couple of months and they just stop because it's not providing the best results, or they just want to move on to another platform, or maybe they're using Google Ads, they don't get the results they want in the first month or in the first half month, and they move on. And by the way, this happens a lot with a lot of the e-commerce brands I handle under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, which if you're currently doing $30,000 or more per month in revenue, you need a little bit of extra help per month scaling to the next level with Google Ads. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and make that happen. But consistency, Andrew Tate, as he proves here, is the key to long-term success. And finally, hate him or love him, but you cannot ignore him. I don't know where I got that quote from, but I remember reading about that somewhere, and that applies perfectly with Andrew Tate, because I mean, you either hate him or you either love him. There is sort of no middle portion for Andrew Tate followers or Andrew Tate haters, and as a result, you are just unable to kind of ignore him in the first place. Even if you hate him, you're gonna talk about him, and if you love him, obviously you're gonna talk about him. So what happens is, there is no room for lukewarm audience members here. And what that means is there's no people that just kind of read through his content or just watch his videos or go on his website to buy stuff and just kind of not really do anything about it. They're either hating on him or they're either loving him. So it's one or the other. Again, going back to the first thing which I mentioned about extremes, Andrew Tate has an extreme audience. So now that we covered a full-on biography on Andrew Tate, we know everything about Andrew Tate, how he does things, what he is, who he is, all of that good stuff. Let's understand how to apply this stuff to your e-commerce brand, because I promise you, the day you understand how to apply all of these things to your e-commerce brand, you're gonna grow to the next level. And then you can come in the comment section and then let me know how you did with these strategies. But let's start off with the first topic I mentioned earlier, which was he makes extreme comments. How can you do that with your e-commerce brand? Now, I'm not saying go extreme with your own brand and just start messing around with everybody and just saying the randomest stuff in the world that nobody has ever heard. Don't do it in the extreme where it's full on negative, but you need to kind of capture one part of the audience or one part of the funnel and take it to the extreme. This could be with customer service. You're taking your customer service to the extreme where you answer to queries or you accept calls 24/7. That's an extreme. Or maybe with product quality. Your product is so extreme with quality that nobody in the world has ever seen this kind of quality in their life, and they have no choice but to love you or hate you. That is an extreme with product. Or maybe with your product offering. So instead of saying buy one, get one free, maybe you do buy one, get 5 free. Or maybe you offer some kind of incentive, which is absolutely insane, that nobody in the world, or in your niche at least, has offered it before. So for example, if you watch one of my last videos on my YouTube channel, I covered one of my e-commerce brands, and with that electronic jump rope, they're selling this whole program on how to use it to their advantage. It's like a 90-day program of fat loss and fitness and all sorts of things like that. Now, I would say that that is taking it to the extreme. In a simple jump rope, they're taking it to the extreme by offering this product or service which people can then digest and improve their lives upon. That's pretty much an extreme. In addition, you could take your ad copies to the extreme. Now again, I'm not saying go crazy and just say the randomest stuff in your ad copies, because you might end up getting yourself suspended. And don't come in my comment section crying about how you got suspended because you listened to this advice. You gotta still follow the policies. Andrew Tate follows the policies, which is why his videos are not suspended as of yet when I'm recording this video at least. But you gotta do the same thing. You can say some extreme things, which of course are real, within your ad copies that can make a big difference. In addition, make your website layout very extreme. So for example, let's say you know after doing a ton of A/B testing, and let's kind of look into this example right here with men's underwear. So let's go on over to this website, and let's say this website is all of the color purple, but you know that only about 40% of your audience members like the color purple and the rest like the color green or something. You want to take your website layout to the extreme and input as much green as possible. You could do the background in green, you could do the menu in green, because everybody and their dog does the menu in black or gray or silver or stuff like that. Maybe you can make the menu colors green, or maybe you can make everything on the website or the checkout page green. Every text or every little word right here is the color green. Now there's so many different things you can do in terms of the extreme to make your website stand out. And I know this might sound crazy, but it works. Andrew Tate is a perfect example of this. So you want to take your website layout to the extreme as much as possible. The way you do it is entirely up to you. But in addition, your website messaging. So for example, I searched up on Google men's hemp underwear. So these hemp underwears are actually a bit different than your normal underwears. And again, these are made with hemp. They're much more different quality. So what you can possibly do is with your website messaging, you can talk about how those people that use normal underwears are the most boring people in the world. They have no sense of style, no sense of class, or they're just unprofessional. Anything like that, something to the extreme. Now, again, I'm just saying these things out of my head. I am not in this niche exactly. I don't know what people would prefer within this niche, but just kind of going to the extreme, maybe talking extreme things about one part of the audience which is not related to your buying intent audience can do the trick. And again, this makes your audience members feel like they're standing out, because when you say that the other audience members who don't use these hemp underwears are just weak, or they have no sense of style, or they're boring, then these people that buy from you, they're gonna think that, hey, you know, I don't wanna be boring. I don't wanna be unclassy. I wanna be a stylish man who gets all of the ladies in the world, or whatever their goal is, with these underwears. And that's the perfect kind of underwear that is for them. That's gonna build you a raving fan base. So no more are you gonna have those lukewarm people. You're gonna have those audience members who actually want your products and crave them, not just want them for the sake of wanting them. But in addition, make your website follow some kind of storyline. So like I said with Andrew Tate, he plays a character and he plays it very well. And you don't even know if it's a real character or if that's actually how he thinks. Same thing with your brand. Make it play some sort of persona, make it play some sort of character where the brand as a whole is kind of understood as the brand as a whole instead of just the products that you sell. You don't want to be the website that sells a bunch of these hemp underwears. You want to be the brand masters hemp underwears, and you are going to be the go-to brand where anybody who talks about hemp underwears knows about your brand. And that's exactly how you want to associate your brand in this case as well, because following a certain type of storyline is the way to go in 2022, 2023 and onwards. And again, you got to make sure this is some sort of emotional script. So don't just start talking about how underwears or your hemp underwears are made out of this beautiful texture and this beautiful material and all sorts of stuff like that. Nobody really cares. All they really care about is how this hemp underwear is gonna make them feel classy compared to the other men who are not using this. And you can take this a bit further by saying things like you are gonna be donating 10% or 5% of the overall sales amount from every sale, building a school in Africa or to building a school in Asia or whatever the case might be. And by the way, make sure you actually do this. Don't just fake it, because then that's unethical. That's not something I suggest or recommend at all, and that's gonna get you in a load of trouble later on. So kind of building a back end true story about your brand, like how you're helping those schools build schools, whatever the case might be, and taking a certain percentage of your order. This is gonna help build a very emotional back script and an emotional storyline associated with your brand. But in addition, like Andrew Tate did very well, you gotta utilize influencers. Forget using just Google ads, TikTok ads, Facebook ads. Even though I'm a very big believer of using Google ads compared to anything else, you cannot just rely on Google forever in 2022, 2023 and onwards, because I mean, that's just one traffic source. There's a billion out there. Go on podcasts, go on YouTube channels, of course, representing your brand or as your brand in general instead of you as an individual person. Go on Instagram lives, do whatever you need to by using these influencers and grow off of their backs. Don't just try to force growth through ads, because again, there's multiple different pieces of the puzzle which you can use to then grow your ad further. But in addition, run ads and other marketing endeavors consistently, because like I said, Andrew Tate, at least recently, has been very consistent. You see his face everywhere, whether you want to see it or not. And that's what gets people talking about him. That's what gets people remembering him, and then at the end of the day, purchasing something from him. So you got to make sure your e-commerce brand does the same. And the main thing I can tell you is do things which ensure you are always in the back of someone's mind. So your potential customers buying, and do things such as constantly sending out email flows, constantly sending out SMSs, do a lot of heavy retargeting, do whatever you need to make sure your customer doesn't forget about you, because the day they forget about you is the day your e-commerce brand starts to die. But that's pretty much how Andrew Tate is blowing up on social media. That's how you can blow up your e-commerce brand through Andrew Tate strategies. Again, you don't need to agree with him, you don't need to disagree with him. The reality, he is blowing up, and your e-commerce brand can blow up the same way. But if you need a little bit of extra help blowing up your e-commerce brand with Google Ads specifically, and you're already doing $30,000 or more per month in revenue, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can possibly work together and make that happen together. But if you found any type of value in this video, destroy that like button, destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video.